Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So, as in the previous video, we had discussed about this particular Anova thing, right? That what is this Anova and what are the things that we are having right here. Now, today I'll be taking you to the assumptions that what are the 5 basic assumptions that needs to be filled up. What are the assumptions that actually need to be filled up here whenever you are using out the one-way ANOVA. Okay, so let me just go down here for a while. And right, let's start out here. So I would simply take out a new color so as I could just start writing out the relevant things onto this particular place, and this time it goes one like this right here. So I would mention out that in order to perform a one-way ANOVA, in order to perform a one-way ANOVA, in order to perform out the one-way ANOVA test, there are few basic assumptions. Okay, so there are few basic assumptions. So I would just mention that out here as well, assumptions, right? So yeah, in order to perform out a one-way ANOVA test, there are few basic assumptions that need to be followed out, that needs to be fulfilled. So the very first one that we are having is that each population, so yeah, so each population from where a sample like this, right? So each population from where a sample is taken, is assumed to be normal. Okay, so each population from where a sample is taken is assumed to be normal. Fine. Now moving towards the next we are having the second point. So the second point is that each sample is randomly selected and independent, and here goes independent. So whatever the sample we are taking, so first of all that's a randomly selected, and next we are having that it is independent as well. So whatever the sample you choose out, that's a randomly selected sample and even the independent sample, right? This is the second point. Moving toward the third one, we have the population are assumed, I will just write that out. Let me just go down here for a short while. Great, so the population are assumed to have equal standard, deviations for variances, right? So the population which we are having, that is assumed to have equal standard deviations for the variances, right? Moving towards the number 4, that's the factor is the categorical variable, the factor is the categorical. One second, let me go down. So the factor is a categorical variable. So yes, this is point number 4. And next point that we are having, that's the point number 5. So into that we are having that the response is the numerical variable. So here we go with the variable. Great. Now let me quickly explain you all of these 5 assumptions that are written out here. Now very first thing that needs to be explained up here in this particular case is that whenever you are performing out a one-way ANOVA test, right? So in that case, there are these few basic assumptions that need to be followed out. Right, the very first assumption that needs to be followed out is that each population from where a sample is taken is assumed to be normal. So from wherever you are taking out the population, right, each population, from wherever you are taking out this particular population and where a sample is taken, okay, from which the sample is taken, so that is assumed to be normal only, right? Hope I am very much clear with this particular thing. So the population from where a sample is taken is assumed to be normal. Moving towards the point number 2, we have that each sample is randomly selected and independent. So what are the samples you are having that are first of all randomly selected, and second one is that these are independent, right? So randomly selected and the independent samples you are having out. Next, moving toward the third, we are having that the population are assumed to have equal standard deviations for variances. So the populations which are basically assumed that they have the standard deviations for the variance. So we just assume this out, this particular thing, that whatever the population you are taking, okay, that has equal standard deviations for the variances. So all the standard deviations are equal for the variances whichever you are having, and for whatever the population you are actually assuming that. Fine. Next, we are having that the factor is the categorical variable. Okay, now here when you go with the one-way ANOVA test, so in that case we have two particular things, that's the factor and the second one is the response. So if I just talk about the factor, so that is a categorical variable. Now what's that categorical variable called? So okay, categorical variables are the type of variables in which what you are having the characters, you're having out the words, you're having out the alphabets. So what are the variables are there into which you are storing some you could say some characters or some words. In the particular case, those are called as the categorical variables. Okay, now whenever you are using out the numerical variables, so in that some sort of numerical value has been associated, either it could be integer or it could be float, that doesn't matters out, but what matters is that it would be numerical variable. So the response which you are having, basically that is the numerical variable, right? Factor goes in the field of a categorical variable, right? And response goes in the field of the numerical variable. So when we talk about the ANOVA test, so in that case what we do, we basically determine out the existence of a statistically significant difference among several group means. So we are having several group means, and among that we find out the existence of the statistically significant difference. This is what we do right here, right? This test completely use out the variances to help determine if the means are equal or not. So in this particular case, we simply use our different variances that helps us to determine that whether the mean are equal or not, right? So in the same case only, the last point is also mentioned one right here, that the populations are assumed to have equal standard deviations for the variances. This is the reason this particular point is mentioned out, that the populations which we are having, those are assumed to have out the equal standard deviations for the variances, right? So hope I am very much clear with this particular thing as well, that for the population, that from where sample is taken is assumed to be normal and the sample is randomly selected and independent. Populations are assumed to have equal standard deviations for the variances. The factor is the categorical variable, the response is the numerical variable. Fine. And ANOVA as well means out this particular same thing only, that's known as analysis of variance. AN for analysis, O for of, and VA for variance. Right? So hope I am very much clear with this particular thing regarding the F distribution and the one-way ANOVA. So now we'll be meeting up in the next video with some more things regarding the same topic, that's the F distribution and one-way ANOVA. So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and take care.